What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about FOMO, or fear of missing out in trading, and regret in trading and how to handle that. So I've been out of the markets for about 2 to 3 weeks over the winter break and the holidays, and I'm just getting my eyes dialed back into it, and it's been a little rocky just trying to get my feel back for the markets and trying to get back into the swing of things. But we can look at our trades from Tuesday, January the 7th, and see how the market tested me a little bit on the psychology or trading mindset side, and how I just had to keep my emotions in check and what I would have done differently. So we can look at some of the trades we did. And for the first part, this isn't a trade I took. It's actually a trade that I missed, and I felt a little bit of FOMO from it, or fear of missing out from it a little bit. And what had happened here was that I was looking at a trade setup, and I had set an order right here, and I was looking at it, and I had not necessarily a rule that I have, but it's like a little thing I developed from back to some a feeling for the market that I hadn't used in a while because I've been off the last few weeks. And I hesitated, which you should never do in trading. If you see something valid and it follows all your rules and checklists and you're feeling for it, you should just take the trade and not think about it at all. But I hesitated and I missed the entry because if I followed that rule or that feeling I had for it, I would have entered in up right around here and I would have been in the trade, and it would have went through and hit my take profit here. But I guess you could say I got a little greedy potentially, and I also just hesitated and didn't trust myself because I just been off for a few weeks and felt a little rusty. And I tried to wait for my entry to be back tapped here for price to go and run and have a greater risk to reward and smaller stop loss area. So with that, you never want to rush into a trade or jump into a trade early if you are having any FOMO. You don't want to do that, because if I did want to jump into this early once I saw it taking off, because I had missed my original entry that I should have took if I had went with not necessarily my rule, but a feeling I kind of developed over back testing for a while. So if I missed this one and I jumped in up here while it started taking off, that would have messed up my risk to reward, and it would have gave me a really large stop loss and would have been an inopportune entry. And that's happened before. You see it's taking off. I know people that will just enter into the market late and just try to ride and get some momentum. But it played out in this way in this trade. But what could have happened is you could have just entered in up here, had a really large stop loss, and price could have just reversed. You would have had a really big loss just because you rushed into the markets because you had fear of missing out. So with this, you just have to sometimes accept it and just say, okay, let's just say I didn't get tagged in for this trade, you just have to accept it and move on to the next trade, because when you have that fear of missing out, you kind of start to get anxious and you want to rush into it because you think you're missing out on a good trade, but you're just missing out on a regular trade. You don't know if you're going to win or lose. What you have to start thinking is, okay, you think you're going to win every trade, but you might have to think, what am I going to do if I lose this trade? This trade could be a loser. You need to start thinking that, because you want to try to preserve your capital and not risk or take any risky trades or inopportune trades or entries that aren't ideal. So with that, I did just miss this trade and it ended up going through. And it's really easy to get caught into a system of, or a state of missing out, of anxiousness or fear or FOMO and regret. Like, okay, I could have set this here because I trusted my gut feeling. But you have to have a very, very short-term memory in live trading, because especially when you trade on the lower time frame like me, I trade on the 1 minute time frame. And what happened also right after that was there was another trade that I could have took right here, and it hit take profit pretty instantly with this momentum, and I ended up missing it because, one, it happened really fast, but two, I think I had just a few seconds of FOMO and a few seconds of doubting myself and just trying to question the trade. But also, this is another tip for you. I didn't analyze on this broker. I analyzed on a different broker. On that broker, there was not a way for me to enter the trade because the candles form slightly differently than this broker. So if I would have saw it on this broker, I would have entered the trade with a little more confidence. I would have entered it and caught this buy and won the trade. But yes, I missed this trade because I had just a slight state of FOMO and just trying to figure out things and just trying to doubt myself a little bit and hesitating. But also just check other trades when you're marking up your chart sometimes. Just check it right before your entry, or maybe you'll see this later in your take profit as well. So I didn't check this broker when I marked up my trade, and I missed this trade as well. So that's easily 2 trade wins that I've missed to start the week off, or to get the beginning of the week. I missed those trades. And at this point, it can really easily turn into a lot of regret, especially if you had just had a loss like I had in the previous day on Monday. And it's easy to turn this to regret, and then that just throws off your whole mindset and your whole state of mind. So when you have this happen, you just want to really have a short term, because you have to forget about it. You have to always think, there's another trade coming up, there's going to be something next. And you have to just train your mind to just get over it and accept it and just go to the next one. The only thing you can do from here now is just learn from it and say, okay, that's happened to that, now move on to the next trade, because you start getting stuck into this state of mind, then you'll easily lose focus of what's going to happen next, and it'll happen right in front of you. You miss another trade and just start piling up that emotion for you. Like it literally just happened for me here when I missed this trade as well, and it happened in a few seconds, but it still happened. And of course, the other tip: just check multiple brokers, because I'll get into this in my next few trades. Sometimes the brokers are a little different, and that can cost you a little bit. And if you're trying to set an entry or stop loss or take profit, it can cost you a little bit if you're not checking multiple brokers. Unfortunately, they're not all the same, and sometimes they display different information. So you just have to keep that in mind when trading. So we move on to the next trade. Since I missed those two, I still had a little bit of equity to play with because I didn't trade yet or missed those two trades. And I went on and I took another sell here, or a sell here, and it didn't go through. It hit stop loss. For me, that was just a valid trade or valid loss. It was nothing I did wrong there. So then this isn't a solid rule as well like the other one. This is not a rule, but I usually just trade, not this time. I usually trade earlier in the New York session because I just wanted to limit myself and not put too much capital at risk. But since I didn't take the first two trades, I had only put one trade's equity at risk, which is only a few percent. And I decided, okay, I'll just trade this time for today because I have equity left over. And it's been at least a decent moving day because I could have caught those first two easily. And this was just a valid loss. So I just said, okay, I'll just try it. I think I can just get some type of equity or return out of today. And it gave a valid setup, which I saw, and I took it. And unfortunately, it was a longer trade. It did take a while for it to play out. And it's easy, of course, if you start doubting yourself, it goes back into profit, and then it goes back into your stop loss zone. But you just got to hold your trades and be very confident. Just trust your setups and trust your analysis and just hold it through. And you'll see here, it started to push down and go towards on take profit. And this is a critical part here because you see right here that it hits the target right here. But in my other broker that I was analyzing on actively, and in my actual broker that I took the trade on, it went down about right here, and it did not hit take profit. So I would highly recommend always check multiple brokers when you're trading to just mark up and have your charts there, and just make sure that your entries and take profits are at least aligned with one of them, or at least being tagged on one of them, because it might not be tagged in your trading broker or your analysis broker. Because in my other broker, it was right here, it did not hit, and in my actual trading broker, it did not hit either. But it hit in this one. Then it started to reverse a little bit, and I was just trying to be patient and trust my analysis fully. Okay, I thought it would just come up here, retest this area a little bit, and then just drop back down, hit my take profit in my brokers. But we can see here that it started to really play around, and this is almost the end of the day, almost at 4 o'clock at the end of the session. So I just set my stop loss here to try to secure profit from this loss, because I really shouldn't even be trading this time anyways, but I had extra equity for the day. So I just took it, and it was a valid trade, but unfortunately, since I wasn't taken out, because I didn't monitor this chart as well, it reversed and I got stopped out around this area, which I still was grateful to get some equity because I was able to have at least a more or so break-even day just from taking this off and covering some of it. So it worked out a little bit, but it could have been a lot more ideal, so left extra percentage on the table, just not by checking this broker and seeing that it hit take profit, because if that had happened, I would have just closed the trade once I saw that, okay, on another valid broker, it hit take profit, I can just close it out. And then, of course, I don't think it returned back into this area. I think it just kept going back up, and it just probably shot down the next day maybe. So by that, I was already out of the trade, and with that, I really want to just highly recommend to always have short-term memory with trading. Do not try to harp and just wallow in your losses. Try to always say, okay, I learned from this, I accept it, move on to the next trade, because there's always going to be a next trade. There's one trade should not make or break your account. That's based on just good risk management practices. So you just want to move on to the next trade and make sure you're doing something right and just have your eyes focused on it. If your mental state is not there because you're just wallowing in regret or fear, you're going to start messing up, making more detrimental mistakes that'll make it worse and just keep piling up. If you have FOMO and start entering in trades late or not ideal entries, then you'll probably start having bad entries, and then you could have an entry that you see momentum going towards your way, and then you enter in like up here, and it just reverses on you, and it has a massive loss as opposed to just waiting for your ideal entry and setup. And regret, you just don't want to have that in your head messing with your analysis and messing with your trading ability. So with that, I'll see you guys next video, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.